you know, if
Right,
it's
we are
Zoom,
alive.
oh, we're live. We were
Right.
talking about
We're
logistics.
totally talking shit on everybody that's watching. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we were
How are
like,
you guys doing?
who's your favorite listener?
Exactly. No. So here we're kicking it, and lots going on. I guess it's just, you know, we're speeding right through February, and we're coming up on March. And you've been super slammed. So I know this week we don't really have an astrological forecast to throw out, which is totally okay. But you know, tonight might be a bit of a shorter show, but I want people to know, first and foremost, that betwixt the shadows, you know, I've never been a person that wants to look at how many numbers of people are in the room. That's really not my thing. But I'm here solely to create content about witchcraft. And I'm not here to discuss sociopolitical issues. I'm not here to talk about what I believe is good or bad or left or right or up or down, or, you know, social structures and ethnicities and all these things. That's just not where I'm at. I'm here to truly talk to you about spellcraft, witchcraft, hexcraft, candle making, herbs and oils. And you know, I've been lucky enough to have a great partner here in Renee that can discuss to you about astrology and things that I don't know about. And, you know, that's what we're here for. We've been going through a lot of fluctuation with the show since we've gone on Zoom. And I'm sure our listeners out there have seen that it's changed. Yeah. And I can tell you this, that we will be back in the studio very, very soon. And we're going to get back to focusing on exactly what we are here for you guys. Yeah. So I'd like to start the show off and talk about that. And maybe, you know, for those listeners that are out there, discuss about things that you'd like to hear. I mean, you know, I think that is super important. You know, when I got involved in witchcraft in my younger years, I did it for, I guess you could say I did it for selfish reasons. But I wanted to be involved in witchcraft because I wanted to change the results of things to my direction.
Right.
And I think that more people out there want that than admit, because people have moral obligations and they need to feel like they have to say certain things to fit in certain brackets.
Right.
You know, I've never been a bracket guy. I mean, it's obvious as I sit here in a dress and heels to talk to you guys and then go home to my wife. I'm not about brackets. I'm not about where I belong. I'm a fucking witch. And I do witchcraft. And that's what I believe Betwixt the Shadows is about. We're betwixt the shadows because we're in between that space. And because we have the abilities to work the space in between shadow to cause change with our will. And that is important tonight.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I also think that it's super important I think that a lot of the draw for people, because I mean, witchcraft has been become really popular in the last, you know, 5 to 10 years. But I mean, I think that a big part of that is just people have sort of outgrown and evolved past dogma, and they don't want to be in a religious structure that tells them like you can't be gay, or you aren't as powerful if you're a woman, or you can't talk to God unless you're a man, like those sort of things. And I think that people are looking for that outlet of, you know, what can keep them tuned into the universe of the other side, or, you know what I mean? Because like so many people are like, oh, you either believe in God or like you're a heathen, you know, like there's so much of that happening culturally. And it's just like, no, like that, like, you know, it's just, it's kind of like a space for rebels in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was not, you know, to the younger people out there, you know, witchcraft wasn't, you know, when I was taking my classes and being baptized in the craft in 88, it wasn't, people weren't pounding on the door. I mean, that store was staying open. You know, it had $5 in the register. It wasn't making a lot of money. You know, my mentor at the time was not, she couldn't keep the lights on sometimes. Yeah. You know, there were times when their kids weren't eating. It wasn't, you weren't in the witchcraft business because you wanted to make a living. You had a witchcraft house because that's just what you are. And that's what was going on back then. Being in my witchcraft classes when I was first learning, and it was costing $15 a week or whatever the nominal fee was. There was only like 4 people, and in the and that was the end of the 80s. That wasn't that long ago. But during that time, you're like, oh, I'm going to witchcraft class, while you're telling people at the local coffee shop pre-Starbucks, oh, this is where I'm going. People were like, you're going to study witchcraft? It wasn't a thing. Now, if you said that to somebody in the middle of Wisconsin, they probably are going to the metaphysical store or getting on the internet. We didn't have that, and there wasn't many people involved back then. So witchcraft wasn't a trend. There was just people that fit into the spot, and that's where we ended up going.
I mean, even when I was younger and when I started, because it was, I was 12 and I'm 33 now. So we've got, over 20 years there. Like it was like that too. I by chance found the book the Scott Cunningham book that I always talk about at a used bookstore. But I didn't, New Age stores in Phoenix, Arizona, not so much a thing. There were some, but it's not like now there's like, take your pick. But it wasn't
driving back then. You couldn't just go to you couldn't go to across town, even to Phoenix on the other side.
Yeah, I didn't have access. So I was like, honestly, like I just had my tattered fucking copy of my book, and then I would buy like corn husks or like Shabbat candles or whatever I could get my hands on at the grocery store and like raid the cabinets of my, my parents' kitchen. And that was, it was like, because I had to do it under like super secretively, because I had such a Catholic household that I had like a little, those little footstools. They're not very big, but they have like, it's almost like there's like a like that lifts up. So I hid all my witch shit in the one that I had in my room, and it was my altar. So I would open it at night after my parents went to bed, and I would put my candles out and like do my offering. And I was always practicing in secret though, because it was like totally not cool in my house.
Yeah, and this is where it's at, and I think that, those of us that are witches, we just are, and long after this trend goes away and the new one comes in, I'm still gonna be sitting here doing this. That's why I see things differently, and I've become kind of beat up, when you have a store and you're dealing with it all day, every day. Somebody that's like, you always get that 8 out of every 10 people that come in my store have the same opening line. And it's always, I've always been interested in this, but I've always felt drawn to this, but, this is what I was doing back in the 80s, but it was even less than that. So we're always going to be around, but, now it's like, it's amazing what media has done, to things. And, and it's such a sharpened, double-edged thing, because as amazing as it is right now, all the, putting all your money in Bitcoin, maybe in 5 years, this is going to be like Bitcoin, what I mean? It'll fall away. And, but these little kind of stores will exist. The House of Intuition will probably turn into whatever the next phase is in the chain to make money off of some kind of metaphysical thing, but, being a witch is, it sounds like, it's a great thing to say nowadays, but it's not really, you still stink up the bathroom when you use it. I mean, you still have problems in life. The faucet still leaks. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you create problems for yourself.
I think that when you start looking at, all the mysticisms and the isms of witchcraft, and, the darker side and the lighter side and what it all means. And I think that is also drummed up a lot, witchcraft just is. It's just is. I don't see it as bad or good or up or down. It's just another way of me, for me, living my life. And getting up in the morning. You know what? And this is a secret that I'm sharing, but like, look, all this stuff I'm wearing, it's like my favorite part of the day is when these can come off my hands.
Yeah.
Jewelry is off of me, and I can sit around in sweats and play video games.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yes. What are you playing right now?
Valhalla.
Oh, really? Is it good? I've been thinking
Valhalla.
about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the old gods, it's amazing and magic and ritual, and you do all kinds of shit. But yeah, so it's like this stuff never mattered to me. Being a witch is not these things or these objects. It's just a way of living your life.
I agree, but you as a witch, it is not about those things, but it's also like, I put on a fucking piece of jewelry on a specific type of day because I'm feeling a certain way, and I want this necklace's like soothing quality because I have to hold space for clients and I have my own stress, but amber makes me feel really chilled out and grounded so that like I can compartmentalize and be there for the person I need to be for. So it's like, yeah, it's aesthetic, but it's also like, there's a reason that we put it on. And I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
the reason it's so nice to take it off is because it's like, okay, well, I don't have to fucking work right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not working right
Work.
now.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the Hecate here, she's always on me, and the Gorgon is always on me because that's in my system. That's protection from anything. You know what I mean? But all the other stuff, it's just sometimes you just want to just let down, and I think it's important that people see what I'm trying to get at tonight with talking about this is that being a witch is just being.
And I think that that's a really good point. And I think that when you have people, because I have that too with clients, when people come through and they say, oh, I've always been interested in this, blah, blah, blah. I think that like, okay, I think one of the reasons why it's an interest and not something they go after is usually there's like family pressure. Like you have to sort of follow this religion and this culture. But I also think that like when we're looking at established and organized religions, there's a lot of like, this is how it is. This is what the other side looks like, and you're not allowed to look at anything else. And for witches, we're like, what the fuck do you want it to be? What do you think it should look like? Go with that. You know what I mean? And so I think that's where like the people are drawn to it because they're sort of like, well, maybe maybe the picture that's been painted for them throughout their entire lives doesn't resonate.
Yeah. Finding that spot in yourself. Like I liked the idea of knowing that there is a way to change the outcome of something in my life. You know what I mean? I like knowing that I can step forth and do A, B, and C to make it go quicker or to get there faster. That's part of the Satanist in me. I'm just about that expediting of what I need. And, I want that. You can buy this computer. It does this, this, and this. I just buy the biggest one and worry about how to pay it off later. I just move and move on things magically the same way. I don't understand how so many people, and this is not me saying anything negative about people. It's just, I can't comprehend it because I'm so extremely into freeballing my life that I don't think about the effects of what my causes can do. I don't worry about the outcome. I don't worry about the blade falling on my neck or pissing something off or, whatever I'm doing. That's why I don't have a line when I'm doing witchcraft. I don't be like, oh, I'm not going to go there morally. I just don't. Yeah. I've built it within myself so long that I just do the work. It's just what I do. You know what I mean?
How do you handle because I'm very, very, very particular about who I'll do spell work for. And usually like, I won't even call it I'm doing a spell because that indicates a specific result. For me, it's like, this is what I think you need in your energy. I'll do energy work. I'll send you pictures. I'll do a spell that's going to help change the energy. So for you, when you're like, I'm a fucking hired gun, how
Yeah.
do you handle the pressure of results?
Oh, when you are you saying about like, first off, as a professional witch, God, that sounds weird to say, but it's true. It's what I am. I have my income is not the crooked path. If anybody, anybody that owns a mom and pop shop, when you own it, it takes about 6 years before you start seeing any changes. Okay. Right now it's just paying for the product that people are buying and maybe covering some of the rent. So I am not making money from the crooked path. I work for free at the crooked path. My employees that work here make more money than I do at this spot. So my money is made off of spellcraft. I am hired to do those things and I'm damn good at what I do. But you have to explain to people what that means. First of all, if Renee hires Sal to do a spell, she's not hiring me for the result. She's hiring me for the work that I'm performing. The result is not up to me. I am not here to guarantee a result for you. I'm here and you're paying me for the service of going through the rituals that I need to do to help make that effect happen. That is not the effect, and the outcome has nothing to do with what I do, and you cannot ask a witch for a linear time frame in which the work is done. Every time somebody gets a job from me, they know that I sit them down for 40 minutes and I'll be like, okay, I am here today to talk you out of doing spell work for me, having me do it for you. I am here. You have this, this are your choices. I can teach you how to do it yourself for 40 bucks.
Yeah, that's my preference.
I can give you the product that you can make it. I can show you the steps, or I can do a spell. If I do the spell, I get X amount of dollars for me building the spell, because every one of them is absolutely an original. The product that I use, I pay for. And it takes about a week of my time for building this thing.
Yeah.
And once I do the spell, it is now out of my hands. You can't come back and say to me, Sal, it's been a week, nothing's happened. It doesn't work like that.
But you have people like that, because I've seen people blow up your fucking phone when you.
Oh, those aren't spell clients. Those are clients who buy candles.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just for candle carving. Yeah. So have you?
Not my private clients.
Huh?
Not my private clients. Never.
No.
No, I won't. Because I counsel them, because my first job for me when I go in is I need them to understand that I have no bearing on the outcome of their work. I am just the hand that does it, because I have a skill set in how to set up ritual and do it. Okay. I can't guarantee that this will be. And when you get work from me, it could come in 5 days, 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 years.
Yeah.
And that once I do my job, I step back, and now that manifest is going to come how it comes. But you can't call and check up on me. I would rather people not pay me, and I'd rather them work on it themselves. And the more I lay out for people this map and am truthful with them, the more work I get.
Yeah.
So I am straight up. I don't want their money. I don't want to do this. But if you want to, this is what it's going to cost. And then they understand it, they sign, and that's what it is.
Do you have, so wait, do you have them actually sign something?
I do. Sometimes it's verbal, sometimes it's a written agreement. Yeah. Because magic is nonlinear. There's nothing here that's going to, you're giving me money to actually put this here and do this here. And then that's what the money is being paid for. It's not being paid for the result. It's being paid for the work I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And also, like, when you're talking about, like, I'm not giving you a time frame, I think that I feel that way when people want a time frame for their tarot questions.
Yeah, you can't
Like,
times
no,
24.
it's like I'll make a guess. I'll pull some cards and I'll try and give you an estimate, but I always tell people like where I'm getting my information from doesn't have time the same way we have time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, like there's not a clock that I can set when I'm communicating with the other side saying like, hey, mark off on this calendar when this person's going to get married.
Yeah.
Usually the information I get is like, this is the work you have to do before you're ready to get married. And this is how you have to work on yourself versus like, oh yeah. And so, and also this is something that I want to point out for people who are listening to it. If you go to a psychic and they give you an excess of detail, if you go to a psychic and they say, oh, you're going to meet a man, he's going to be wearing a gold chain, he's going to have dark hair and blue eyes. It's like, I had someone straight up tear me a new asshole because they had a reading like that before they met with me, and this person,
Expected.
huh?
They expected that from you.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, I don't work like that. That's not how I do readings. And they're like, oh, so you're saying you're not as good of a psychic? And I'm saying, actually, no, I think that person was scamming you, and I'm the better side. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and she told, like, she wanted a refund. She said she was going to contest the charges. And I was like, well, I have text messages from you that if you contest anything, I can say you knew exactly what you're paying for. So like, try, you know what I mean? I was like, no, like, I'm not gonna just feed you what you want. And I'm not gonna give you
Yeah.
details to the point of like what the first, middle, and last name of the person you're going to marry is. And anyone who offers that information is a fucking con artist.
Yeah, completely. And and I'm not trying to con people. I don't care about the money. I don't care if somebody says to me, oh, I'm not paying you 300 X amount of dollars, $500 to do this spell. I'm like, that's good. Don't pay me. I don't want you to pay me. I'd rather you go another way and work this out. And I will even guide you through that for free.
Yeah.
But the more I offer that, the more people want me and want my service. So it's strange, but it's part of it. Like I've got one coming up very soon that I've got it's a financial thing with a millionaire, and I had to give them the whole speech. I'm like, look, here it is. You're paying me for the work I'm doing, not for the result you want.
Yeah.
That's what's important about it. And you need to be clear with that and say it that way. But also, I am not put off by what people call black work.
What's funny, Sal, is so I did Coast to Coast last week, which is one of the reasons why I've been so fucking busy. Dude, I had like my inbox like exploded. Do you know what like I'm sure you know because you've been on it, and people are just like, oh, I heard Roller Coaster, which is great and I love it. But
you say hi to him for me?
Huh?
You say hi to him for me?
I mentioned you. So this is the segue into it. So George was like, because we were talking about like my psychic work and being a witch and stuff. And so George was like, okay, so if someone came to you and they wanted you to do a spell where they like, they wanted something bad to happen to someone and they wanted this very specific thing to happen. I explained exactly what you just explained. Like, that's not how it works. You can't do a spell specifically for someone to fall downstairs.
Yeah.
I said, but I don't do work like that. But my partner on Betwixt the Shadows is not afraid to get his hands dirty.
What?
Yeah. And I said, he'll take your spell. I was like, he'll do it. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He will do the work.
Wow. So you did say hi to him for me. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did he make the connection? Did he realize?
I think he was just trying to keep the show moving. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yay. I loved him. He's such a nice man.
He is so nice. And I just like, did you take calls when you were on it?
Yeah.
The listeners
truckers.
So great. They're so
truckers in the middle of the night were calling.
Yes. It was so much fun.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad. I'm very glad that I love George. George was a very nice man, very respectful. And he'd always, whenever we'd segue out, he'd be like, stay with us. I'm going to be talking to Sal, who's a witch and a hell of a nice guy. He would say that over and over and over. It's just so funny.
That's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to go. I don't go out and maliciously try to harm people. That's not my job. I'm not a
Mhm.
dick. I'm not someone that wants to hurt people. But you got to, when people ask me to do certain things, I we all have lines that we draw. I would never, ever wish ill physically on people, mortality rate or any. That's just not what I do. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Go go back into your fantasy world because that's not what I do.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing a binding on somebody, because they're abusing someone,
Yeah.
it's fit for me. And
So I interviewed someone for my podcast the other day who like we were talking about hexes and she used a term that I had never heard before, but it totally made sense and aligns with what you're saying. She called it ethical hexing. If someone's an abuser, yeah, they should be hexed. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So she was like, it's ethical hexing. You have to look at it case by case. And I was like, yeah, that's actually really true.
yeah, you have to look at how things are. And also, no one, not even my wife, who's the closest person to me, knows what I'm doing in that room alone.
Yeah.
I send photos and I send video pieces of the work that I do to my clients, but you don't hear the incantations. You don't hear the conversations I have with my guardians and with my deity,
Mm-hmm.
or the entities that I work with. Um, that's where things get exact. And being a person that's very practiced and skilled in this art, um, it's all about how the words are said. And you have to say the words. And when I say that, I'm not talking about limerically. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying how you word what you're trying to achieve can it's the answer to how this all works and the idea of bad and good. So what one might see as good or one might see as bad, I word it so I am always safe,
Right.
and I word it so even the person that is being worked on is safe. There's ways of giving them
Protection.
divine safety and protection just outside of the scope of the work that this person, to protect another person, let their best self be in this place. You know what I mean? It's just how I'm saying it, because I'm not spitting, breaking bones. It's not like how, well, that's not entirely true. Because there has been a couple of times that I've done some things. But the actions, when I am in deep trance, and I don't think there's anybody in our room. Well, I know I've been in ritual with one of the shadow crew. But even that ritual that she's been present in, she's not seen it. The only person that's ever actually seen me in the aspects that I'm in when I'm in deep in space is Scarlet.
Mm-hmm.
And Scarlet is, she's my working magical partner for a myriad of reasons. One, I have a lot of respect for her craft. She's slightly lighter than I am in areas. She doesn't step into some areas that I step into, but also Scarlet is like an anchor for me, magically, because she knows when I'm going
Earth
off a
sign
cliff.
too. She's a Taurus too, so
Yeah,
she could bring it
yeah,
in.
she brings me in. But there's things that happen to me when I'm doing heavy witchcraft that even my coven members haven't seen. But Scarlet has seen, who is not in my coven. But like one of the things I've always stayed away from talking about is I'm what I put under the bump in the night umbrella, or the psychic ability, or the clairs, or how I am all sometimes I'm eye rolling at that point. Well, that's because it's so, not because I don't believe in the truth of it, but because it's so abused. The words are so abused, like empath, you know,
I
you know
have
what I'm saying? So sometimes when I'm in spellcraft and I'm so deep, literally, and I don't divulge this a lot, but I literally will start having conversation with whatever I'm working with, and I
Yeah.
will start speaking in languages that are completely utter gibberish. And they
Right.
get so deep and so dark and so like I'm spitting and
It's
frothing
like
and
speaking in
screaming.
tongues.
Yeah, like but sometimes my eyes are red, and sometimes I am literally like hacking away at candles while I'm doing an incantation and spitting on it and screaming at it and wiping out my whole altar and just flipping out. And I'm out of space and I'm not even there. And
That sounds
then,
like a seizure cell.
huh?
It sounds
It's
like a
like that. It's like an out of body experience. So like I don't discuss that because I always, I tend to be the person that's brave about physical and reality and of life, but I go there, but I try not to acknowledge that I go there because it gets really deep and really dark. And I had an experience this last ritual. So I can't go into too deeply into it, but my client hired me to work with the Haritas. And the Haritas is Greek for the graces.
Mhm.
And we were calling it in because we wanted to shower this person with certain funds. And in turn, they would take these funds and really put it to places that were ethically needed,
Mhm.
like for women's shelters. And, there was parts of that funds that were going to so anyways, I did this work with the Haritas, and I'm literally going off with her sitting next to me, Scarlett on the other side of me, and I just start tripping into these words. And then out of nowhere, it was like in a movie, it was like, came right out of it. And I just turned to her and looked at her and said, put whatever it is, put the object to the left of your bed tonight. They want it. And that's all I said. And then I came right back to life. And
Uh,
there, and then Scarlett and the girl were like, what did you just say? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you said, put the object to the left of the bed tonight. They need it.
yeah.
What is the object? Who needs it? I'm like, I don't know. It just got told me that in my ear, and I'm telling you now. And that's where it ends.
Yeah.
So I definitely am doing things in there that are just really intense,
I think that I have two points with what you were just talking about. One with the empath thing. So I know you hear it a lot at nauseum,
Yeah.
but I actually do think a lot of motherfuckers are empaths. And I think that like people not knowing how to protect their psyche is the problem. So I don't think the word empath is a problem. I think the words psychic defense need to be highlighted because I think that people are naturally intuitive, especially if you're like a water sign,
Yeah.
you know? And so when people say like, yeah, it's caught on in a trendy way where people say it without really knowing what it means. Like, oh, I'm an empath. I've been told I'm an empath. If you've been told you're an empath, you need to fucking learn about psychic defense. You need to
Yeah.
learn how to you need to learn how to pull it together. And that's actually how you become psychic. I
Yeah.
started as an empath. I learned how to channel it. I learned how to make it stronger. I learned how to protect myself. Now I'm a professional psychic, but I also agree with you too when you're talking about like not going into great details about what happens to you in witchcraft.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a reason, one of the reasons for that for me because I've had very, very, very paranormal experiences that some I've talked about publicly in an interview setting, but I don't always want to like I don't always throw out like my theories about aliens and other beings and stuff like that, and I don't want to talk too much about what's happening beyond the veil because 80 no I would say 90% of the time when I'm talking to a client, they need to be grounded in reality.
Yeah.
And when you start throwing shit at people like, oh, I was talking in tongues, so maybe you should be talking in tongues when you're in ritual, or oh, like I have communication with extraterrestrials, so like maybe you should be trying to do that too. Like people need to learn how to ground and they have to learn how to walk before they can before they can go there without losing their minds. Because I've seen people who were very psychic, but extremely disconnected because they lost that groundedness.
Mm-hmm. It's true, and like I try not to talk about it a lot because, to be honest with you, when this store the store has cameras everywhere, so I can see whatever's going on. There's an eye in the sky in every space that you can get it. And there's one in the Hecate room. And when I've done rituals sometimes, you know, and I'll be going brushing the videos because I'm always watching them for security reasons or whatever. One time I was watching it and all of a sudden I hit one of my rituals that I was doing with Scarlett. And it's fucking creepy. It's straight up like fucking Creepville. It's like when I saw my body start to contort and twitch and scream and yell and watch Scarlett, who's this tall, beautiful woman that's just statue and goddess-esque as it is. She's like, go.
One of the things I love about her is how is that presence that she's like a fucking pillar of strength and like you said, beauty and goddess energy. And so yeah, for her to be like, what?
She's backing up. She's like, holy fuck, he's gone.
I can't even imagine her doing that, you know?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. We just got a text here. What wasn't there the weird footage of the Baphomet statue being knocked off randomly in the old store? Oh yeah. That was punishment by Hecate though. That wasn't really a spell word, but she's talking about the fire.
Yeah, I know. I thought the Baphomet statue fell too.
Well, it didn't fall. The whole thing caught on fire. And I reached in and grabbed it and it burned my hands really bad. You know, but yeah, it's like I don't know what to call what it is. I don't want to say I speak in tongues, but listening to the audio of what I do, it sounds very like underworld. It's very wispy and like it can go like and like it just all the stuff just comes out of me. And I don't know where that comes from. And sometimes it gets scary, you know? And I get calls and I have to have a little piece of me that is grounded in reality. And sometimes I step away from that little piece and all of a sudden it'll ask for something that it can't ask for. I'm like, no, I'm not going there. I'm turning because it gets scary, you know? So it's like, that's how I see, you know, when I'm in witchcraft mode, when I'm in witch mode, that's what I'm doing in there, you know?
Do you ever do weird shit in your sleep? Have you ever gotten reports of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, in my sleep, more and more things are happening. So actually right now I'm getting really creeped out in recent days. So I mean, I've discussed it with everybody before, our viewers, but I've talked about that I'm in Jason Miller's class. And I'm in the second series right now. And within the second series, there's an elective class that you can take. Some people may choose not to do it. Some people will. But it's just really, really hardcore. And I had to make a specific object that took me a couple weeks to create. And after I created the object, I had to get a canine skull and do certain things to that, and then connect it to this other object and birth it to life. And this object now is sitting underneath the altar. And whenever I do my work every night now, it's really intimidating me, sitting there just looking at me. It's got a lust in it. And I don't really spook. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I get spooked if you boo me, you know, I jump like really quick. But as far as like what we do, I don't freak out. But this thing is really, really heavy. And now when I'm doing my work with Hecate, it's intimidating me while I'm working in my mandala with her. And you know, working with the Stygians is what it's partially connected to. And they're hunters, they're like hunter hounds from the underworld that do your bidding, basically is what it's for. And it's fucking really intense. So the other night Popey and I are in dead sleep. And all of a sudden we hear like a knock. And immediately I go into security guard mode. And I'm like, all right, what the fuck's going on? Who's at the front door? And Popey's like, who's at the front door? And we both literally were dead sleep. We were like, wang, and we just jumped right up. And so I'm like, I'll go check it out. So I went around and I checked it out. There was nothing there. And still an uneasy rest. It was right after the dark moon. And right after I did the consecration on the totem that I made. And about 2 hours later, it happened again, only this time it was on iron. And I wish I could explain it to you.
It sounded like it had like almost like a hollow metal ringing sound.
Yes, it was 3. And the hound is on an iron metal pot, and it's got a handle that's metal. And when you drop it, it makes that exact sound 3 times.
Jeez.
And we're both like, holy shit. So, I mean, I've created an egregore, a really strong thing. And for the first time, magically, I'm a little intimidated by my work. I mean, I'm a little bit weirded out by it because it's something that when you look at it, you're like, fuck, that's just, I wish I could go into more and show you pictures, but I can't, but it's just really intense. Actually, I'll send you privately a picture.
Okay.
You can explain to everybody without explaining explanatives on what you're seeing.
Yes.
But that I'll pop it over
description. I'm so excited.
Let's see. Okay, so I'll send this over to you just so you can get a vision on what the hell I'm talking about here. Yeah, even this part is kind of intimidating. It's so weird. Okay, here she is. Okay, I just sent it.
Okay, I'm waiting, eagerly waiting for the weird witch shit to get sent to me. Oh, wow, already.
Yeah, it's really intense.
I wish we could like
you can't. I can't do that, but yeah. But it's intense, and you see that. So when I kneel every night, that's right at gut level with me.
Yeah, but I mean, you made it, so.
Mm-hmm. And there's certain mixtures that go in that piece underneath it, in that big cauldron thing, that there's certain things that go in there that are kind of intense.
Is this going to be like a tool that you work with continuously?
From now on, for the rest of my life, I have to feed it every new moon.
And what happens when you die?
It gets dismantled. And if I miss one moon, then it becomes discredited. And it's only Hecate gives it only to a witch once in their life.
Oh.
So I cannot miss a moon.
Can someone feed it for you? Like if you're in a hospital?
Yes. So I could say, Renee, do X and X and X to this for me while I'm gone.
No, feed my soul.
Yeah, you don't even have to know why. I can just tell you to do an action for me and it'll be done. But yeah, that's the that's the gist of it. I'll send you one more so you can look at down at the top of it. But yeah, but it's got to be, it's forever.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that intense?
The longer I look at it and I just see like more and more details come through,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll explain it to you more privately, but it's definitely real. And I'm just telling you guys, witchcraft is real. That's all I'm telling you.
Totally real.
Yes, it gets really intense.
There was only one, huh?
You have to do it in your time. And it's not, for those people that choose not to do it, that's totally great that they don't. I'm not advising everybody to do this. It's just that, you know, these things that you do, all the things that you read, put it this way, close to your face, to those people out there in the world, all the things that you read in the books when you were a child or watched in the movies are real. The shit really, we really do that stuff, but you're
Mhm.
not going to find that stuff in Llewellyn books. It's not in neo-paganism or Wicca, but there is real work that we do. And it's intense.
Um, yeah. You know, I think that like a lot of people too, like that are just getting started, they don't always have the patience for the results. And so they give up. There's only ever been one time that I doubted whether or not witchcraft worked. And it was rooted in my impatience for the result of something. And I remember wanting this thing to happen so bad. I went into the shower and I thought to myself, like, this isn't fucking working. Like, I don't know if I should even be doing witchcraft anymore. I don't know if anything I've been doing lately is working. And I got out of the shower and I checked my phone and I got a message from a friend who had me do a spell for him. And he was like, "Hey, your spell worked. Thank you." And it was in the moment of doubt that I got that message. And I was like, okay.
Wow,
It
that's very cool.
was really cool.
It's intense to see your labors pay off. It
Oh my
really
God.
is.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, like sometimes all of your shit manifests at once too. And
Mhm.
then you're overwhelmed with the responsibility behind carrying what you asked for. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
especially
yeah,
for
like that
me.
thing.
Yeah.
Like it sounds really fun right now, but I can't miss one moon. Like
Hmm.
when I was building that, my wife said to me, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because if we go to Greece, what are you going to do?"
You're
You
gonna
know.
have to pay a dog watcher to
Uh-huh.
come feed your skeleton.
It's true. And and my epoxius bottle, which is my other awesome. Did I ever show you guys that? You want to see the epoxius bottle?
Can you like move it though without just like disturbing it? Could you travel with it with
Uh,
your skull?
with the skull, no, because it comes apart. It has to stay at the altar.
Mm. What if you move? You have to like carry it by hand to make sure it
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's a way of carrying it. This is epoxius. This is a really specific bottle. And also, oh shit, I'm getting wax on my. It is a very, this bottle belongs to the store, but epoxius is actually an entity.
Oh wow.
And all these things, these are his eyes.
Huh.
And there's certain incantation that you do, and there's certain things put in here that are deadly. There's aconite in this. There's all kinds of really specific things. And then every dark moon, I have to burn a candle on this. But all that stuff can be found in like the Jason Miller. That's why Jason Miller stuff is so great. His book is so great. It gets you working on stuff so quickly. There's a way of calling in the eight, which is these different entities that you can work with for different reasons. We just recently, and without going into detail, there is a certain incantation that we've been given whenever we do tarot readings.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it's really interesting. Actually, there's a specific group of entities that you work with in the system that we're working in that pretty much are dedicated to divinatory means.
Yeah.
So there's this whole incantation for it that really, it's really punchy, but I mean, I don't really divine that much, but
Yeah.
it's just amazing. When you start working with like these entities and spirits and daemons and things like that, it's really crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel like that's where like you dabble in divination and I'm doing divination every fucking
Yeah,
day
yeah.
and I'll throw out a spell when I need to. And so like it's interesting to have like that sort of like
Yeah.
duality between us where it's like we both play in each other's realms, but like we're very I love being a witch and I practice witchcraft for fucking sure. But I feel like a lot of my work is just done through my ability to enter the divinatory realms, because then I just have conversations instead of performing rituals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's just, I love when you think of like Macbeth,
Mm-hmm.
and you think of the witches in Macbeth doing their work, that's how I want my work to be.
Yeah.
I want it to be wrathful and aggressive and, spit and body fluids and, mashing and using, hobbling. I've hobbled before. Are you familiar with hobbling?
Mm-mm.
Hobbling is traditionally hobbling is when they take a piece of wood, a piece of timber, and they would tie the person down and they would put the timber between like a 4 feet timber log, and they would put it between their legs spread above their ankle bones and then mallet the outside of their feet so they crack around the timber. And so they walk with a permanent hobble.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a torture. So hobbling in magic.
I was like, you do that?
In magic, you can hobble. Here, let me show you. There's ways of what now when you think about like hobbling, it's crippling. When you're crippling someone, that doesn't mean always. It doesn't always mean the outcome is you're crippling someone physically, but you're crippling an action that they're maybe they're doing something that is really fucked up, right? Maybe they're doing something that you want to stop. So you cripple magically. And so what you can do is you slowly break. And then what usually happens, that one went too far, but you break them down. And a lot of times, wow, this happened twice, this is no good. Usually there's the wick in here. And
yeah,
then
and it like
angle.
Yeah.
But you start doing that to the limbs and you cripple the object or the subject. Not that I've destroyed a candle. But that's witchcraft, that's shit that I'm doing. I'm doing like things that are just pouring out of me. And like, I find as when people start talking about eclectic, I'm eclectic. I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I always have a foundation for magic, but there's moments when I'm in that frenzy when I'm not thinking anymore. And all of a sudden I'm like lighting something on fire, or I'm snapping this, or I'm twisting that, or I'm screaming out, specific entities I'm calling in to gnarl and twist and shape. And that's where witchcraft becomes eclectic, where you start just letting it spill off your mind and then you make it happen. And then when you see the results from a distance, it's fucking intense.
Yeah.
It's a really, really intense thing. This has been a great show.
It has. We have one question I want us to get to.
Cool.
We came in so unprepared just because like I was out of town, and then I had talk about manifesting everything at once. I told you I got 2 horoscope jobs on the same day, which means I had 2 giant deadlines within 2 days of each other. And so I definitely was feeling like the burden of manifestation. So I was like, before coming into this, I was like, this show's gonna fucking suck, but we just ended up rolling with it in a way that was really cool. But we do have a question that was sent in advance, and it says, I'll just read it straight from the email. Hey, Brujas, I'd like to hear you describe the difference between asking a deity / energy for something versus making a petition. I hear the words used interchangeably, but I think there's a stark difference. How important is it to set a deadline for yourself? The Celts and the Nords, for example, made bold requests of their goals, but offered at times harrowing sacrifices as if they were unable to uphold their bargain. The second part seems to be lost. So
that was such a jumbled question. I'm not sure what the question was.
I think they wanted to know the difference between asking a deity for something and petitioning. And for me, it's just about writing it down versus saying it.
asking a deity. So this is the question is about how to get the message across to the deity.
They're asking the difference between like making a petition versus asking a deity for something.
Well, I think that there's a difference. A lot of times, at least from the perspective of coming in the shop and making your candles, your petition of intent is kind of like the incantation, only it's not limerically based. It is you stating exactly that which you want to get that into your subconscious mind to help to manifest the spell work that you're doing. Okay. The petition of intent doesn't usually, it doesn't have to, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't have to go to a deity. It's just you writing out the words so you can get them in your subconscious mind. That's why we make the petition. So it's the petition that we're doing for ourselves to get into the mind to have the spell work. But going to a deity to ask for work, I wouldn't even call that. I wouldn't call that a petition. That's more of asking, the deity you serve, if you serve one, to lay their hand on the work to make something happen. Now, it doesn't always, spell work doesn't always have to, I don't have to call in Hecate every time I do a spell.
Right.
Why do I need to do that to her? Do I call in entities? Sure. Because they're summoners to do my will. I'm a magician. I'm a witch. It's what I do. I can call them in because I can call them in through the name of Hecate and do my work, but I don't have to bother. It's like, I don't need to bother the big boss to get water in the water cooler. You know what I mean? It's there's some things I don't want to bother her with.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that's good. That's what I'm getting from it, unless I'm getting it wrong.
No, I think that I think I agree with you too. Like I'm always working with an entity, but I'm not always working with a deity. And if I'm working with a deity directly, it's usually because I'm not fucking around. Or I want to just connect. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if it's for a specific thing versus connecting, it's just because I don't want to fuck around.
Yeah, like with my client the other night, we opened up with Hecate, always gave her the respect, went by her and went to Harit and went to the Graces and did the work. You know what I mean? That's different. But also, there was a question that came up last week, and it actually, very few things really make me think about things. And it's a good thing maybe to end off on tonight. And it was Mia that brought it up because of one of her friends. And she wanted to know my answer on it. She said, one of her friends said when they practice witchcraft and spellcraft, they don't go to a deity to get the result. They go within themselves, conjure the energy and the spellcraft and make it happen by using objects. But the deity isn't called in. And Nia says to me, being one of my students as well, she's like, where do you stand on this? And is she right or is she wrong? And I answered, she's both. She's both right and wrong. Because some of us can go to our deities and use them, and not use them, I shouldn't say that, because you never want to use a deity, but pay homage to our deities and ask for these boons or these spells. Then other times we're doing spellcraft just by manipulating the elements to cause change in the results that we want. So they're both the right way to do it. One is not wrong.
Well, I think in witchcraft too, that's kind of the rule. It's not wrong if you're doing it and you're a witch.
Yeah.
There's no rules. That's why I'm here.
But she said it was also wrong that when people go to gods and goddesses to get things done, I'm like, that's absolutely not true, because I do it all the time. There's times when I totally need Hecate.
Yeah, in that aspect of it, saying other people don't do something, because all witches are different. That's why we're witches. We're unique to our practice.
And that's important that people get that, but she wasn't wrong. Definitely not wrong. So we are at 8 o'clock, and I know it's time for us to go. And I'm blessed that we got a beautiful hour. And I have to say that this has probably been one of my favorite episodes in a long time. I'm very impressed, and I think if I got any messages from deities that I serve, it's that don't give up on Betwixt the Shadows, because we've got something.
I don't want to give up on it either. We got to be back in the studio because Zoom's not working. Neither one of us.
I need to see your face. I want to see your face on the screen.
I'm not inspired. I never come into Zoom feeling inspired. You bring the inspiration out of me once we start talking, and our dynamic brings the inspiration out of me. So I think it's going to be much easier to be in the studio because we'll already be interacting before we go on. And there's a difference because our banter, I think, comes through quicker when we're together too.
Yeah. And you always wear cool outfits, and I get to look at you while you're over there, and it's cool.
You always wear cool outfits too.
And I like seeing the Shadow Crew out there doing their thing, and I love them all. Jackie, John, Grace, they're great. So definitely. There is one thing I wanted to add for people to watch. This is my little 5 minutes of before we go. If you have anything that you want to watch, you're looking for something to watch on Netflix or something, I highly advise people to watch the 4-part special on the girl that died at the Cecil Hotel.
I saw it.
Oh, shit. It was beautiful. And in the end of it, they summed it up so well. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't full of mysticism and spookiness and anything. It was, it was beautiful. Yeah. To all due respect to that girl, I don't want to say her name wrong.
Elisa Lam, wasn't it?
Elisa Lam, yes. Yeah. Rest in peace, you beautiful, beautiful girl. She had a beautiful soul. She wrote so eloquently. They touch on her Tumblr and all the beautiful words that she had to say. She was amazingly blessed. Yeah. And the world definitely is vacant without her. It was really, but it also shines a light on, words that people throw around like bipolar. Mm-hmm. And being bipolar is a real thing.
It is a real thing.
There's people that suffer from this, and we have to love them and know that we love them and that give them all the love that they deserve, because it's a very serious thing. And please listen to people when they say they are bipolar. Just let them know that they're loved.
Yeah.
And that we're here to listen as humans. That's what I got from that entire thing. It wasn't about spookiness or, crazy videos. It was about a girl that passed away.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a combination of all those things in some ways, depending on what time stamp you're in, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, by the end of it, if you stay through it and watch the last episode, it sums it up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel really bad for the death metal guy.
Oh my God. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, he destroyed a man's life.
All right. We're going to start giving spoilers. And this isn't, we got to let people go.
Yeah, watch it. It's really beautiful. It teaches you a lot about people, that have different problems in life. And just remember, she was a girl that suffered, and she's at peace, but bless her. And love all you guys. Thank you for being here tonight and listening to us rant. Renee, thank you for an amazing episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Great episode. Thank you to the Shadow Crew. I'm Sal. Renee, you have anything you want to say? Say goodbye.
You can find us online at Betwixt the Shadows, at Rainbow Glitter Star for me, Daily Horoscopes at the Glittercast, and Sal.
Yeah, the Crooked Path _LA, Salvatore _modern _witch. Even though I've been lagging on that, I need to get back on it. We are on there. We are here. Love you guys. We will see you probably next week. Be safe. We are out of here.
Bye.